All right, we should be recording now. So, welcome everyone. We have Allison here as a special guest. Obviously, you can see. Um, Not even gonna try to say it. Can you go ahead and say your last name so I don't butcher it?
Technically, it's a wappa, like the W sound, but I usually just say Naguapa because it's more phonetic. But yeah, wappa.
Yeah, cool. So really excited to have her as a guest today, just to talk about her journey with one-on-one coaching so far. So she's been a one-on-one client since I think it was like early, like first week or so of September when you officially started, and your progress has been awesome, which we're gonna dive into all of that with this. Lost 20 pounds when really your goal was a lot smaller than that actually initially. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but there have been some unique challenges within your journey too, which I'm sure we'll talk about that uh, make it really cool to talk about too. But kind of first off, before we dive into that, kind of let everybody know like a little bit about you. Do you have any kids? How many? What your day-to-day life looks like, so they can kind of get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I have kids. I have a 5-year-old son named Zeke, and then a 2-year-old daughter named Liliana. And then I kind of joke that my third kid is my husband because he can be a kid too. But two kids. I am a nurse practitioner, pediatric nurse practitioner, and work part time at Nationwide Children's Hospital. So that is part of my day to day, and then just being a mom the other days when I'm not working. So yeah, sometimes I feel like a full time stay at home mom because I work a couple days a week. So it's a good balance of working but also being home and with my kids a lot. So
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I think like a lot of people are just like stay-at-home moms, or even like nowadays, there's a lot of stay-at-home dads, and like you get a lot of fulfillment out of that, right? Like being able to be there for your kids more often and be a part of their lives more. But I think it's also good, like, for you to still like work part-time at least and like feel like you're doing something for yourself, outside of just being the role of being a mom too.
yeah, definitely. I think each have their own challenges and each is an escape from the other in its own way. So I
Yeah.
do I do like the balance for sure.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for full time, truly full time stay at home moms. I have a lot of respect because I love my children, but I appreciate getting away from them a couple days a week too.
Yeah, for sure. It helps you like not that you don't appreciate the time with your kids anyway, but it does help you appreciate that time, so much more too. Like, what is the saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So like when you have some
Yeah.
time away from them, you're like really excited to see them, every time. So, uh cool. So kind of tell us tell everyone, like where this journey kind of started for you back in September. Like what brought you to that point? I know you obviously came into the program and your goal was to lose a little bit of weight, to tone up and see your body composition change. But what kind of led us to that point where you did, reach out for coaching? Like, was your weight something you struggled with for a long time, or was it something new? Or kind of like just take us through like your journey with fitness and nutrition, kind of leading up to that point.
I would say I've always been a decently active person as far as trying to exercise and eat healthy. And that's something my husband and I have always kind of connected on, even from the very beginning of our dating journey when we were in high school, just going to the gym together, playing sports together, hiking together, just being more active in general. So I wouldn't say I struggled with my weight a lot before I had kids, but
Mhm.
definitely after I had kids, I definitely struggled on my own to get kind of that weight off and to get back into a rhythm of working out regularly and um, eating so that I could lose weight, I guess. Because I would say I've always been a mostly healthy eater. I love my sweets, but mostly try to eat healthy. But I was trying that and trying to exercise on my own, but not really seeing any progress as far as losing the weight I had gained during pregnancy. And yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like, pregnancy and obviously like the natural weight gain that just comes with that, dealing
Mhm.
with trying to get it back to a place where you felt really comfortable was kind of like where your struggle began a little bit with this. And um it sounds like you were exercising, eating healthy. Were there any like specific things you tried, like specific workouts or specific diets? Because I know a lot of people will try like keto or low carb or kind of go something very like specific that has a name to it. Did you try anything like that, or was it just generally trying to just eat healthy?
I did do Weight Watchers after my son, and I was able to lose like maybe 5 pounds doing that. And then I did it again for a little bit after my daughter. But there was no exercise component to it. And it also, like it worked a little bit, but it was hard to sustain, I would say. And yeah, again, didn't have the like exercise strength component to it at all. And then I did join a group called Fit for Mom, which still really like that group, and I made a lot of connections. But that was a exercise group of moms, typically with young kids, and we would meet at parks or in the winter at indoor locations to exercise, like with our kids in tow, so in a
Hmm.
stroller or double stroller, or depending on how many kids you had. So that was a really fun group to kind of get back into exercising after having kids. But that group was more exercise focused and not nutrition focused. So
Hmm.
kind of Weight Watchers with a little more nutrition. That group was more exercise, but not the nutrition aspect. So I did those things, but again, I wasn't um, like losing as much weight as I wanted to or getting as strong as I wanted to.
Yeah, and what did you feel like was like that unsustainable about Weight Watchers? Because I know you mentioned that. Like, what specifically felt unsustainable about that?
Yeah. It was quite a while ago. I just remember like it was more points based, like foods were certain points and you only had so many points a day. And I remember my overall points were pretty low. So I don't know exactly like the calorie,
Hmm.
correlation to what I was allowed to eat, but it wasn't a ton. And so just being able to do that long term didn't feel like a good route necessarily. Yeah, I think that was the main thing with that.
Yeah, and like Weight Watchers, they have like some okay principles built into the program as far as like why they're making certain things, certain point values or not. But there are some like flaws of okay, like this doesn't really make sense that this is this many points and this is that many points. And then also kind of like you said, it's really hard to like be flexible and swap foods out because you don't know what like the calorie level of these certain things are, and you become just a little bit too rigid in like the food choices you feel like you can make then because you aren't able to make those like swaps and equivalents and everything that like you've probably learned how to do, a lot over this time period. um, and then the workouts, that you were doing, it sounds like that was like really great for support and just for like motivation to, get active and to be a part of a group like that. But it sounds like it was maybe lacking like maybe structure, and maybe the way they were put together wasn't put together for like the best progress. Maybe it was put together for like, okay, staying active and staying healthy. But when you have a goal of like seeing specific body composition change, you kind of have to go a little bit step further with your workouts and not just do something for the purpose of being active, but do something that actually is like making your body change in a specific way.
Right. Yes, I would agree. It's good group, but just not the focus. The focus of the group wasn't to like people lose weight in general, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get kind of caught up in those kinds of things where like they're eating healthy, but they don't really know how much they're eating, like how much protein they're actually eating or how many calories they're actually eating, or they're exercising regularly, but they're just kind of like sporadic and random workouts, which, like I said, can be great for overall health. If you're at the body composition change or composition that you feel comfortable in, like it's great to do those things for overall health, just maintain that. But if you have a very specific goal of I want my body to look this way and change this way, you just kind of need a little bit more of a routine, structured approach where you're actually like progressing on the same things week to week, because it's not just about like burning calories or getting your heart rate up. It's about like actually getting the body to like sculpt and change the way you want. So, so we, you reached out in September of like 2024, September of last year. So where were you kind of at that point? Like it sounds like you'd been kind of struggling to see the results you want for a little bit, and um, like how did you even stumble upon the program? Was it from somebody else, a friend, or like how did you even find me or like our coaching?
Yeah. I had been like, I guess I wasn't really ever introduced to the idea of having a coach until one of my friends, her name is Sarah, she had posted a little bit on social media about some like workouts she was doing and results she was getting. And I knew she was working with a coach. So I had reached out to her just about like coaching in general. Um, so that was kind of in my mind, but I wasn't really looking myself a whole lot. And then Nicole, a friend and a former coworker, had posted also on social media just about her amazing results from working with you. And I just remember seeing, I'm pretty sure I was like laying in bed next to my son, like he had just fallen asleep, and I was still laying there just like scrolling on my phone and saw her results and was just like, oh my gosh, she is a mom. She has four boys. She's busy. If she can like do this and get the amazing results she has, it was just so encouraging to me that I could too. And so I just kind of stumbled upon working with you, I would say. But I'm
Hmm.
so grateful that she shared because I think I filled out an application to talk to you more and work with you. I think that night, just because I was like, I just got to do this. I'm not making progress. I'm not happy with where I am. And um, so that was, yeah, I'm really, really grateful that Nicole shared the way that she did because I don't think I would be where I am today if she hadn't.
Yeah, it's funny because you're probably like the fourth person I've had an interview with, maybe third or fourth, who, when I ask this question, they're like, "Yeah, I saw Nicole's post," and like that's
Yeah.
what made me fill out the application. So Nicole, she's gotten a lot of referrals for sure, um,
Yeah.
which is awesome, and it's also very cool too now. Like not only that she got referrals or like you signed up because of her and other people did, but the fact that like I was able to bring on three of you guys for interviews now, 6, 8, 9 months later or whatever, since you guys got started, and you guys saw awesome results too, and it's just it's very cool seeing clients inspire other people to take the leap and to start putting themselves first, and then to see like where you're at now, and Michelle was another one who was referred by Nicole, and to just see like how far you guys have come to, it's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
It's really cool to like do things alongside other moms, I would say, who are in really busy seasons and just know that they're kind of getting after it and doing what they need to do and just know that you're not like the only one. So
Yeah,
it's
and
very
also yeah, and also too for you to, and you and anybody else to like see, okay, Nicole saw this kind of progress, and like you said, she's a mom, four boys or four kids. She's super busy, and it's like you're like, well, if she can do it, then like I should be able to do it. And then somebody else who
Mhm.
might be like, well, I know Allison, she has two kids, and she works part-time and everything, like, and she's busy, and like if she can do it, then I should be able to do it too. And it just like makes it seem more like it actually is realistic to get the results you want, and to not like kill yourself along the way either and do something extreme. Um,
Yeah.
so signed up for coaching around September. I remember our conversation there, and kind of fast forward to, or let's kind of even just dive into like the first kind of month or so of coaching. The first month was about building your calories up in like what I call the priming phase, kind of getting ready for fat loss. Like, what were your thoughts during that phase? A lot of clients are like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are we increasing calories or trying to? Why aren't we immediately trying to go into a fat loss phase? Like, what were your thoughts during that phase? Um, did you question it, or were you just like, hey, I'm just trusting the process entirely, or where were you at there?
I think I just remember like initially, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I think just being like low key annoyed because I had like made a decision like I want to lose weight, I want to start exercising, and I think the entire first week you just were like you just need to track your food and that's all you're gonna do. And I'm like, what? Am I not,
Uh,
aren't I supposed to be like going to the gym 5 times and eating like next to nothing? And you were like, no, like the first week you're just going to learn and practice tracking your food. And then you just like slowly added things, which in retrospect, I really appreciate because it made it so it was just more doable and felt more of like a gradual life change for me to incorporate versus, one day not doing anything and the next day doing 10 things that I couldn't figure out how to feasibly fit into my life. So um, I remember being annoyed at the time, but it was good. And you obviously know what you're doing. So,
yeah, I think a lot of clients feel that way probably in the beginning. Um, Annoyed by, maybe annoyed, but like maybe just like antsy or like
yeah.
impatient of like, okay, like I signed up, I'm ready to get the ball rolling, which is great, but also I don't want us to like hit the ground running completely in the beginning and then us burn out and stall out just within a few weeks. And then you're like, okay, like now once that emotional like motivation dies down, now you're like, okay, this is too much. Like now I have to dial back on things. And then you feel like you're going backwards. Then you feel discouraged. Where as instead, like the slower approach, you can build up and like build your confidence from there. And like you said, it feels more sustainable. And then also even just the aspect of like waiting to do a fat loss phase. I think we waited like probably 3 weeks for you, maybe four at the most, because your calories were already pretty decently high, like almost to where as high as we wanted them to be. Um, but some clients, like it's maybe 6 weeks until we start a fat loss phase, depending on how low their calories are to begin with. Sometimes even 8, depending on how things go. But it's just like that phase is so important for us to make sure that your body's going to respond well in the long run, in the long term, versus just like immediately throwing you into the fire and then, having to figure out things out from there.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And I think I remember when you initially I started working with you, you had sent over just your background, and I just remember being like, he's very educated. He's obviously gotten a lot of women, a lot of great results, and I need to just trust the process. And so I do just wanted to touch on that because I do think you have a lot of education and knowledge, and you kind of have like the resume to back it up, essentially, which I appreciated that.
Yeah, right. If I was just kind of a random person who didn't have like any previous, I don't know, I guess like client transformations or testimonials, it probably would have been even harder to like buy into, that
Mm-hmm.
first phase or what I was kind of talking about in the beginning. And it's not that like you probably still felt so much better even just with those initial changes we made the first month, but it's like you come into the program with this mindset, like not just you specifically, but most people of got to see the weight in the scale go down, or I got to start seeing a fat loss immediately. And you have to kind of like learn to appreciate those non-scale victories kind of along the way until you can actually like feel like, oh, like I see like real value in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so fast forward to now, and like I kind of mentioned, you're down roughly 20 pounds since like what your heaviest weight was before we started the
Mhm.
fat loss phase to now, which is incredible, especially for a couple of reasons. One, like you're just your starting weight. It's not like you started super heavy, on the body weight side of things. So you lost a significant percentage of your body weight. But also it's, 20 pounds in since September, which has been like what, like 9, 10-ish months. Like that's a great pace even if you were a heavier body weight. But also you had a 3-week trip in there where like you didn't track your food at all during that 3-week trip. Um, and then also you had that injury which we dealt with. So let's talk about the injury. Like how do you remember exactly like when that happened, how that happened, what kind of like difficulties you ran into, even just like psychologically when that happened of like, shoot, like, am I gonna be able to still make progress during this or what?
Yeah, I think it was like so like 2 or 3 weeks after I started coaching with you. I think it was 3 weeks
Hmm.
because I had only done like maybe 1 week of workouts, and we took a family beach trip to Florida, and I broke my hand the first morning at the beach. Just like jammed it into I think my husband's forearm just in the wrong way enough that it broke my left hand. And I was in denial. I didn't go to an urgent care until the next day, but it really hurt. So I went and got it checked out, and it was certainly broken, which was so devastating. I remember coming back, and I was just like crying, and I was mostly upset because I had just started coaching, and I was like, I want to make these changes, and then I broke my hand. So I was like, how am I gonna do workouts and continue to make progress? And I was just so frustrated because it was, I think, um, it was going to be like 12 or 16 weeks before I could do any kind of weights with my left hand. And just the functionality of only having one hand to use as a mom. And my daughter was still in diapers. So even just like every single task, that I take for granted was I couldn't do.
Yeah.
I remember I couldn't even open a sandwich bag by myself. I had to like use my teeth because I couldn't use my left hand. It was just so painful. Um, but that was challenging. But I just did lower body workouts. I think with you for you know the majority of like the next 3 months.
Hmm.
Um, and now I love my upper body days, and I think it's because I couldn't do them for so long.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you were great and just encouraging, and I think you're great in general, just at helping keep like a bird's eye view and a bigger perspective, and not getting in the weeds of the day to day setbacks that we face, even if it's like not having the greatest week and not meeting all my goals, but just giving the bigger picture of consistency over perfection. So, adapting and doing what we could in that time. So, continuing to hit nutrition targets and do lower body workouts. And I think I just used like my right hand to hold weights and, do weights that way with like lunges and squats and things. So, just doing what I could, knowing that it wasn't you know, what I had hoped, but we
Hmm.
still made it work.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really cool period for me to like watch you as a coach because you did such a great job at maintaining like a positive perspective on things and thinking, okay, well, I can't do everything perfectly compared to like what I envisioned I was going to be able to do for these, few months before, I hurt myself. Um, but what can I do? Which, you were so consistent with the nutrition side of things, during that period, but really the whole time, but especially during that period. And even really consistent with those workouts, even though I'm sure some of those workouts, they probably felt like, okay, like I'm not getting as much out of this as I know I could. So what's even the point of doing them? Like you probably had some of those kind of second thoughts in your head, you probably had periods where like you're hitting your step goal and like why like is this even really helping because I know like I'm so limited in my workouts and all this stuff, but because you were just like squeezing out all of the juice that you could out of your situation, like you still were able to lose, I don't know the exact number, but a good amount of body fat, even with us being limited with just one arm to hold weights and only being able to do lower body workouts. So if it wasn't for you having that kind of mindset, it could have been really easy for you to be like, well, like I'm not going to achieve the perfect progress that I want. So like why even try? Which a lot of people fall into that mindset. And then, 3 months later, with recovery goes by, and instead of maybe being down 6 or 10 pounds of body fat like you probably were during that time frame, somebody else they might have not made any progress at all, or might have even gained weight back because they maybe scrapped all of their workouts entirely because they're like, well, I'll just pick back up on things like when I'm fully healed. But like you can still make the most out of every situation. And like that period was like a really great example of that. And it also probably boosted your confidence too, where like if I can make progress during that with one arm and like so limited in my workouts, then like man, when I can use both arms, I'm gonna make some really great progress, especially like over time, as you started going to the gym a little bit more too, just recently. But
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
so that was really cool. And then also, you like were able to go on your trip for like what was it, 3 weeks long, 2.5, three
Yeah.
weeks,
Yeah.
and you perfectly maintained like all the fat loss you had achieved up to that point. And what was there anything that you feel like we did prior, like throughout coaching, whether it was the maintenance days, the diet breaks, building your calories up, or whatever it was that you feel like really helped during that 3 week period for you to maintain your weight? Or do you think it was just like you already knew what to do and it was just super easy to do that?
No, I think just like all the aspects of coaching and just great nutrition advice that you provide, even for, before that trip, for planning for when there's a potluck at work or a holiday get together. And, I don't have a food scale with me and I can't track everything ahead of time. Just the ways to portion your plate or think about building your plate and paying attention to hunger cues instead of just like going all out because you can, and then maybe regretting it later. I think that all those tips helped. So just being more mindful about food choices I made. And I really honestly didn't think that I restricted myself at all. Like, I love Thai tea and I had Thai tea every single day, and it has like condensed milk and sugar in it. And I don't know how many calories it is, but, um, and I ate good food. And I think I'm pretty sure I lost 2 or 3 pounds during that 3 week period
Hmm.
still, because I still maintained, tried to get my steps in and workouts in while I was over there because I wanted to. But it was just, yeah, all the things that we had built upon to that point just helped me maintain and continue progress during that trip. And I was surprised that I had lost weight because I didn't feel like I was, again, I didn't feel like I was intentionally like restricting myself. I still could enjoy the trip a lot and enjoy the food over there a lot.
Yeah, and it's always interesting too, like when you go out of the country, a lot of times the portion sizes are just so much more reasonable than if you go on a trip here in the US. So even if you eat
That's
everything
true.
they put on your plate, yeah, it's like you're actually eating a proper portion size versus if you eat everything on your
Yeah.
plate in the US, like you're probably eating enough food for three people a lot of times. Um, but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, and those are all like just amazing skills that you can take with you for any other trip you have coming up or any other situation. And this is why like it kills me so much when somebody is maybe thinking about signing up for coaching and they're like, but I have this vacation in, 6 weeks. I'm just gonna wait till after that vacation and then start then. And it's like, we could learn so much even in a 5 to 6 week period to where you don't have to go backwards in progress with that week that you have on your trip or vacation, where a lot of people end up doing that. And it's like, I think people have this mentality or mindset that like if they're going to do coaching, they're like, okay, I need to have this like 6 month window in my year where like nothing's going on so I can be like really dialed in for the whole 6 months and just like be perfect. But that's not life, and that's not how you actually learn to like see real progress that's going to last over time. Like you're better off hiring a coach, in my opinion, when you have something planned in a few months. So that way you can have support and guidance on how to navigate that. So then like you really have the skills to maintain your results or keep seeing results like later when you have another trip come up. Um, so I think like that was perfect for you to be able to like really kind of test and implement those things when you're gone too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. There's never going to be a season of life where you don't have a celebration of some sort or, eating out with friends even, or yeah, I agree. It's very helpful to learn how to navigate and still, enjoy those situations and not, make backward progress, still continue meeting goals that you have.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not a fan too of like really short programs or really short commitments, which is why like I do have a 6 month minimum for like anybody getting started with coaching. And honestly, I would love for that to be a year minimum, but like that's kind of a big ask for a lot of people initially. Um, but it's just like when you have a full year of working with a coach. Like you go through also all the seasons in a year too, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, the summer, those challenges, the fall. You go through all these different challenges that come up in a year's time, and then you feel much more equipped to handle those situations in the future. Whereas if you're like if you are always doing these like short commitments of like, okay, a 3 week challenge or even like an 8 week coaching program or 12 week even, and you like sandwich it in like a 12 week period where, okay, I have nothing going on from January to April or something, you're not going to learn how to like actually navigate the hard things that pop up that probably are the things that set you back the most anyway.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
So, so kind of take us, or let me ask you this too. You're obviously you're down 20 pounds now, but what are some other like wins that you've seen along the way that are maybe like non-scale related, whether it be, what your body's capable of doing, how your body feels, um, how your clothes fit maybe, or even like psychological wins or mental wins that you maybe even like didn't even think would happen, or things that maybe surprised you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot.
Yeah, that was a loaded
Yeah,
question. Sorry.
no, yeah, I agree. It's not just, I mean, definitely seeing the scale go down is very rewarding, but I think in this season of my life where I do have young kids and I am busy from dawn to dusk, like I don't really stop, I don't sit down, I don't rest a whole lot. And you need energy to do all of that. And I just remember about a year ago, I was just tired of feeling tired and not having the energy to do the things I wanted to, whether it was with my kids or um, you know, just hikes with my husband. I remember he went to Colorado with a friend and was hiking and commented like, "Well, you wouldn't be able to keep up with me." And I was like so offended, but it was true. It was like hard to hear, but it was so true. Like I wouldn't have been. I would have been so out of breath and out of shape. Um, so it just felt really good to build strength and build energy to be able to run around with my kids. And even just the other week, we went to the zoo, and I have a double stroller, but I only took my single because half the time my kids aren't in the stroller anyway. But at the end of, walking around the zoo for a few hours, both of my kids wanted to be in the stroller. So they were like sitting on each other, and I had to like push them up a hill, like a slight incline. And I have big kids. They're like probably 80, 90 pounds between the two of them. But I was able to like push them in the stroller on a slight, incline. And I had energy to do that after walking around for several hours, which I probably wouldn't have had, you know, a year ago at this time. So just being able to have energy to do what I need to do in the day and to feel good is just so rewarding. I think even more than like the number on the scale again. Um, and that's what I want to continue to be able to do, just to have strength and energy for my day to day and for my kids and for other people too.
Yeah, and those things are always like really cool and fun because they're things that you don't really think about. Like probably when you started the program, you never thought like, okay, I want to be able to push both my kids in one stroller up a hill at the zoo. Like you probably
Yeah.
didn't actually think about that, but being able to physically do that, feels good. And a lot of these things can also make your life easier too. Like if you didn't have the strength to push them up the hill, I guess like what would the approach have, been? Maybe telling one, okay, you have to get out of the stroller and then having to deal with that kind of argument or whatever, and that difficulty, or even like carrying groceries in and being able to do it in like one or two trips instead of taking three or four because you feel, actually strong enough to carry more in. And those things are just like little small moments, but they make a big difference in just how you feel about yourself too. And you probably felt like, I don't know if you stopped and thought like, wow, that was actually pretty impressive. Like I feel good being able to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, also, you were the one that texted me too about the TV that came in or got delivered, right? You're yeah. So tell us about that. Tell everyone about that situation.
Yeah. I My husband ordered a new TV is pretty big just because our old one has been broke for a while and it's very glitchy. So I've been on him forever about getting a new TV. I didn't know he had actually ordered one, but I was out on a walk one day, and came when I got back to the house. There was a big TV on our front porch, and so I took it inside and texted my husband like, I don't know, I think I was like, "Did you order a TV?" Because it was on our front porch, and he said something like, "Oh yeah, I hope it doesn't get stolen." And I was like, "I took it inside. Why would it get stolen?" And he was just surprised that I could. He's like, "Isn't wasn't that heavy? Like you could take it inside?" I was like, "Yeah, why wouldn't I be able to? Like, have you not seen what I've been doing the past 8 months? I'm strong."
Uh-huh.
But he just doubted that, and it yeah, just little things like that. Even when we went to Thailand, we did a pretty hard hike. My husband's notorious for like choosing the most strenuous hikes and making me go on them. And it was pretty challenging in the terrain and the incline. We like climbed the side of a big mountain, but it felt really easy and I wasn't out of breath. And normally I'd have to like take a million breaks and I didn't have to. And it just felt really good to be able to do that. And it, and just surprisingly, like not doing any high intensity cardio at all, and just how cardiovascularly fit I feel and I am without doing any cardio. Just, walking is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, which all that is really cool. I love the TV text that you sent me. It made me laugh. But no, this was kind of like the other thing I was going to dive into too, which you kind of like had a good transition into it, which was like what surprised you about the approach and the journey to getting down 20 pounds. I mean, obviously, what was your initial goal? Did you say it was 10 to lose 10 pounds?
Yeah, the initial goal was just like to lose 10 pounds, which put me like a little bit above my pre-kid weight, but I basically wanted to get back to like my pre-kid weight if I could, and then just like a general goal of toning is what I had wanted.
Yeah.
So
So I'm sure that was maybe surprising that like you doubled the initial goal that you had as far as like weight on the scale, but you kind of talked about it too, like the changes you saw both like physically in your body composition, but also like physically what your body's capable of doing. And we only had what, three lifting days a week and a step goal, and then just nutrition changes. So, like, was that like surprising to you? Because I know I have a lot of clients who come in and they're like expecting to do like 5 workouts a week and like a lot of burpees and things like that. And so, kind of tell us or tell everyone like what you felt about the approach. Like, was it surprising about the results that you could get from just not doing so many things, I guess?
yeah, yeah, I definitely think that's exactly it. Like I'm only going to the gym 3 days a week, so 3 hours a week of workouts. And so I think a big takeaway that I would want to tell people, especially people who just feel like they're too busy, is that it's very doable. And it can fit into your life, and you do have to make changes, but it's been a lot more doable than what I would have thought. Because I think you also have to shift perspectives of um, like not having time for things, but making time for things that you feel are important. And I've definitely had to do that a little bit. I used to like only exercise when I had time, and now I make
Yeah.
time to exercise. And so even just like shifting perspectives in that sense. But overall, yeah, I'm not doing anything crazy, I don't think.
Yeah, and for what, 6 out of the past 8 months, you were just doing home workouts too, I feel like. I can't yeah, and it was just workouts with some light dumbbells at home too. So like most of the actual like weight loss and fat loss you had has been through just like 3 home workouts a week, a simple step goal, and a calorie and protein range and adjusting those two things. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but I love what you said there as far as about making time for your workouts and making time for these types of things making time to hit your steps or, get your walks in or whatever it is. Because I was having a conversation with another client about this, this week, and I've had numerous conversations about this, but it's like if you wake up and you just go throughout your day and you're like, okay, like today I'm going to try to work out today. And just like when I have time, I'm going to squeeze it in. It's probably not going to happen because there's always going to be something that's going to pop up probably that you're going to be able to convince yourself, oh, this is more important than my workout in this moment. So I need to like do this instead. And then before you know it, it's like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. at night. You're tired, you have a long day tomorrow. I'll just go to bed and I'll try to get in it tomorrow. And then that happens again and you push it back. So it just has to be something that, like, if you were to make a list of everything that's a priority to you, it just has to be higher up there for you to make time for it. Like taking a shower, doing laundry, those are things you all make time for, not just like find time for. And like your workouts have to be like just as important as laundry in my opinion to like actually see consistent results. Like it has to be part of your actual daily routine, not something that you try to just squeeze in when you have time.
Yeah, yeah, and I would say that's what I was trying to do before. Is I would kind of exercise when it was convenient or when I could squeeze it in, which really looked like maybe once or twice a week. Um, but it's crazy to think it's just kind of crazy to think like I never thought I had time to work out more, or even just recently, like before I started going to the gym, I never thought I could have time or find time to go to a gym versus doing home workouts. But then you actually can. You can do a lot more than what you think um, if you're willing to make it a priority, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think about it like this, and I don't know if you ever had these thoughts, but it was like in middle school when all the teachers would kind of tell you about like, oh, how hard high school is going to be and everything. You're like, oh man, I don't, how am I going to be able to like take tests this often or study this often or manage all of this stuff? And then you get to high school and you do it, and then you're like, oh, like I'm gonna have a job in high school too. How am I gonna be able to fit in a job and school? But then you somehow find a way to do it. And then same thing with college, where you're like, okay, I'm learning at like double the pace that what I did in high school, but you find a way to make it work. And then you end up kind of moving on through your life, and maybe you're somebody who ends up like getting married, and then you're talking about kids and you're like, I'm so busy with my full-time job and everything else, how am I going to be able to fit kids in? And then you somehow find a way to do that, and then like you just like when you force yourself into situations or you don't have a choice, then you kind of find a way to make it work, and you almost have to kind of think about your fitness journey in that way of like, I don't really have a choice, like I have to find a way to do it, like if it's the result that I truly want to get. If I just want to keep wishing it will happen and like desiring it, but I'm not willing to put in the work to get it, then like that's one thing. But if you actually want it to happen, you have to just throw yourself in to a certain extent. Like we don't want to just jump into things too quickly, but you have to throw yourself in there to some extent and just be like, I'm gonna find a way to actually, do it. And in the beginning, it probably will suck or feel uncomfortable a little bit, but then like you'll find a way to kind of fit it into your normal routine a little bit more, which, you probably did with the workouts we've done, even with the home workouts. And then you probably did the same thing when you started actually going to the gym.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was mostly doing the home workouts. I was mostly doing them during my daughter's nap time, so in the middle of the day, doing them then, and just thinking like I can't wake up early. I like my sleep. I can't get up before my kids and get to the gym, but that's what I'm doing now. So just it's interesting what you can do when you make it happen. And that I ate a Dove chocolate after lunch today, and the little thing, which I thought was very appropriate. It says, "Don't just wish for it, work for it."
I love it.
I was like, "That's perfect for today."
Yeah, that's perfect. No, I love that. And the thing too is like with this conversation, a lot of people will maybe hear it and feel like it's kind of scary because they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to like go through this dreadful period for so long. Like, I'm always gonna have to like be so disciplined to like get my workouts in." But one thing that you probably have experienced is over time, having to be less disciplined than what you were in the beginning because one, it becomes more of your routine, and also you probably have started to actually enjoy the feeling that you feel like after you finish a workout. And for you especially, like starting to go to the gym, enjoying that like you time out of the house too, where you are focusing on yourself. So like is that something you know experience where like in the beginning it was like, oh, I got to do this workout, don't really want to, and now it's like maybe part of you or some days you actually like look forward to it and you actually have to implement less discipline than what you did in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think there's definitely, you feel good after you work out, especially when I get it done in the morning and that's how I start my day. And yeah, definitely getting out of the house to the gym has been like, it's just like a mini vacation almost, which sounds weird to say, but it's like 1 hour, 3 times a week where I can just focus on myself and not have anyone bugging me for anything. And just do my own thing and kind of zone out, listen to what I want to, and just yeah, get away a little bit, which is not my typical day to day. So yeah, I definitely look forward to it now. I'm actually pretty bummed that my husband's going to be gone for a couple weeks coming up on a work trip, and I don't think I'm probably going to have to do home workouts for the most part. So I'm going to miss getting to the gym as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely easier with time.
Yeah, and it's something like I think it's so important, especially you know for moms, and like you obviously you know do work part time, so you have like that element like we talked about in the beginning of being able to like get away and kind of do something that
Mhm.
feels like more of your own, and you're not necessarily in mom mode during that time. But like it's so important, I think, for you know everybody, even if you are a stay-at-home mom, to even just have those you know few hours a week at minimum, where like you're
Mhm.
going even downstairs in the basement to get your workouts in, or you're going to a gym, you know, to get your workouts in, where it's like this is something that I'm doing like kind of for me, and it maybe feels a little bit selfish, but also you know like you end up being able to show up for your kids or your family so much more too when you do that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we might even be getting close to an hour, but just quickly, how would you summarize the like any I guess psychological changes maybe you've seen over like how you view food, how you view exercise, or even how you view yourself? Like how has that maybe evolved over this time period?
Yeah, I think just overall, definitely, I have just a better self image of myself with like feeling better with how clothes fit and a lot of clothes actually being too big and I need to go shopping. But that's challenging too sometimes. But yeah, just feeling good at being, um, feeling good in my own skin. Um, and then just feeling like in control of food, I would say, versus not in control. I think um, before I kind of always struggled with eating too much, especially like I said, I love sweets. So feeling like if there was a plate of cookies in front of me, I would eat like 3 or 4 easily and not even think about it. But now just feeling like I'm more in control of those decisions and more mindful when I eat, I would say. Um, and just paying attention to how hungry I actually am. And yeah, those have all been really good changes. Trying to think what else. Um, yeah, I feel like lots of good things. I can
Hmm.
take some more so I could try to remember. Um,
I mean, I think both of those are great. You know, obviously, like your improved
yeah.
confidence that you've had with all this, and also just your calmness around food, and like you said, your just higher level of control around it. And I think it comes down to a couple things. One, you realizing, okay, if I do eat a couple pieces of chocolate, I know it's not going to ruin all my results. Like I think that's one thing that people fear is like, okay, I had chocolate, so now my day's ruined. But you know that as long as you account for it in your day, like you can actually still make progress eating that kind of stuff in moderation. And then also your just like awareness and education or knowledge around food in general. Like you probably can look at a piece of chocolate and be like, okay, that's probably like 150 calories or so. Whereas like if you haven't gone through this process, you look at a piece of chocolate and you're like, man, I don't know if that's like 400, 500. Like, I don't know what kind of damage I'm going to do with this. And that like gives you this little bit of anxiety around the food of like, do I really want to eat it or not? But like, because of all the knowledge that you've built from doing this, you can look at a food, kind of know, okay, how is this going to like fuel me nutritionally, or how is it going to like support my body in this way? And you can just like make so much more sound judgments around food the more you know about it. So I think that something that I hear a lot from clients too. uh,
Yeah.
so kind of to wrap up, um, what would you say to somebody who is kind of on the fence about joining or thinking about it, like a friend or family member that you were having a conversation with and they weren't really sure, like what would be like your biggest piece of advice for them?
Yeah, I think the one thing I've already mentioned, and just reiterating that it's very doable. I think a lot of programs or different weight loss methods can seem very intense and overwhelming, but I think the way you approach things is very doable. And it's also just great for like long term health and nutrition and awareness and just how to like, live life in a healthy way. I learned a lot just about nutrition and in general and working out. I mean, even we didn't really touch on, but like even certain exercises that you have, shown the right form of and are correcting my form just to get better results for building muscle and different equipment modifications that you can do at the gym that I like had no idea before, just so many things that I've learned. And I think maybe a lot of women or moms don't feel like they're worth investing in themselves or don't feel like they have the time or they need to put their kids first or their job first or whatever it is, but I don't think there's a better investment you can make than in yourself to improve yourself and your health and your energy. And I think that kind of overflows into all other areas of your life. um, so it's, yeah, I would say if you're thinking about it, I don't think you would regret it. I certainly haven't. Um, and I've continued coaching beyond the 6 month package just because I have been so happy with the results and everything I'm learning. And I know there's more to learn and more progress to make. So I definitely would say go for it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think just like to kind of end, I think it would be so cool if there was like a video camera that was like secret in your house or secretly followed you around and showed you for like maybe a few days even straight, like just like completely video recorded you before you started this, and then secretly followed you around maybe like this week and recorded you and played them side by side and showed just like how you interacted with your kids, how you interacted maybe with your husband, how you even interacted with work, or just like the daily things you did. And you would probably see a drastic difference of, oh, like I'm actually up and playing with my kids more now, or I'm actually even like smiling with my kids more now, or I'm wearing tank tops more than what I did before, or I'm even just like feeling more confident around like my husband and having a better relationship with him in that way, or whatever it is. Like I think that'd be so cool because like when you do, like you said, and invest in yourself and put yourself first and feel good in your own skin and feel healthy and have more energy, like it shows up and you're able to just be like a better mom, better, wife, better person for the people around you too. Cool. Well, thanks so much for jumping on here, Allison. That was awesome. Have loved working with you, and I'm excited to just keep going. And now we're getting ready to like shift gears a little bit, and after being down 20 pounds, to kind of shift towards just really emphasizing, building some more muscle, which is fun. When you get to that point where you don't really need to like go into fat loss phases or don't really feel like you really want to anymore because you're kind of just really, happy with your body composition there and just want to improve in those other ways. So, um, very cool. We'll kind of wrap it up here, but like I said, I really appreciate you, doing this, Allison, and we will see you guys. Oh, and just to end too, I'm sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you have any questions about the program, obviously you can ask me, but I'm sure Allison would probably be open to, you asking her too. And, if you had any specific questions. So, uh, cool. Well, we will see you guys in the next one then.